Welcome to How So, the channel where curiosity meets discovery. From history and science to everyday mysteries.
Space, endless, silent, eternal. A black ocean stretching into infinity. And yet, somewhere beyond the stars, something stirs. It is not a fleet, not a nation, not an empire. It is hunger, pure, unrelenting hunger. The Tyranids. They do not come to conquer. They do not come to rule. They come to consume, to strip entire worlds of every living cell, until nothing remains but lifeless rock. And now, imagine this. You are there. You are the one being hunted. If you see this video, please like, share, and subscribe to see more story. The Imperium tells its citizens that humanity will endure forever, that the God Emperor protects. But in the far reaches of the galaxy, the truth is different. Whole planets vanish, erased from memory, and the whispers speak of the great devourer. Describe the calm before the storm. You wake in the dead of night. The air feels heavy. The sky outside your hive city window glows with a sickly, unnatural hue. Then, the sirens begin. Long, drawn-out wails that shake the air. People rush into the streets in confusion. Children crying, soldiers barking orders. Something has come. Something vast. At first, you think it is just war. The Imperium is always at war. But then, the shadows spread across the sky. The first sign is silence. Vox signals fail. Astropaths scream and claw at their eyes before collapsing into silence. The very fabric of thought feels heavy. You feel it yourself. A pressure pressing down on your mind. You don't know why, but you are afraid. Everyone is afraid. Explain the shadow in the warp in immersive terms. The Tyranids do not just attack with claws and fangs. They drown whole worlds in a psychic storm, cutting them off, suffocating them in silence. No reinforcements. No pleas for help. Only isolation. The Imperium calls it the shadow in the warp. But to you, it feels like death itself breathing down your neck. Explosions in the sky. Meteors, or what you thought were meteors, begin to burn through the atmosphere. They are not rocks. They are spores. Living, growing, hatching as they fall. The ground quakes as they strike. From each crater, something begins to move. The air fills with a foul, chemical stench. People choke and gag as mist spreads through the streets. The soldiers around you fire wildly into the haze, but their last guns only make the shadows twitch. And then, you hear it. A sound that will haunt you forever. The sound of claws on steel. Something is hunting. You cannot see it clearly, only flashes of movement in the smoke. Eyes glinting. A hiss in the darkness. Then, a scream. A soldier vanishes into the fog, blood spraying against the wall. The crowd breaks. People run. And you realize the truth. The Tyranids are here, and they are hunting you. Panic spreads like fire. Civilians rush into the streets, screaming, shoving, desperate to escape. Soldiers form barricades, shouting orders, their voices trembling though they try to hide it. Above, the sky grows darker, not from clouds, but from something far worse. Great shadows stretch across the heavens. Enormous shapes drift silently through the void. At first, they look like ships, but then you realize they are alive. Living bioships. Creatures the size of mountains, their tendrils stretching into the atmosphere. A hive fleet has arrived. The first spores strike with thunderous impact, cratering the streets. From them pour chitinous forms, gaunts, their bodies bristling with claws and living weapons. They do not hesitate. They do not pause. They surge forward in perfect unison, as though commanded by a single, unseen master. Describe the terrifying coordination of the swarm. Every claw, every shriek, every step is part of one vast orchestra of destruction. You realize you are not watching animals. You are watching a weapon made of flesh, perfected through countless worlds consumed. Then, out of the smoke, something worse emerges. They are faster, leaner, their movements too precise, too intelligent. Genestealers. They do not charge blindly like the gaunts. They stalk. They wait. And then, with impossible speed, they strike. One soldier screams as a genestealer tears through him, claws slicing effortlessly through armor. Another fires at point-blank range, only to be dismembered before he can reload. You feel the terror rising in your throat. These creatures are not just predators. They are assassins, and you are standing in their hunting grounds. And then it hits you. The realization. These thousands of creatures, these countless forms, are not acting separately. They are one, a single mind, a hive consciousness stretching across the fleet above and the swarm below. You feel it pressing into your thoughts, a suffocating presence that gnaws at your courage. The hive mind does not see you as a person. It does not even see you as a soldier. It sees you as food, biomass, a resource to be stripped, broken down, and fed back into the swarm. And the worst part? It never stops. It never sleeps. It never shows mercy. The Imperial Guard makes its stand. Lines of soldiers open fire, lasguns scorching through the first wave. Grenades thunder, tearing swathes of gaunts apart. The smell of burned flesh fills the air. For a moment, it seems possible. They are holding. The line might hold. But then, more come. 4 every gaunt that falls, 10 more pour from the spore pods. 4 every Genestealer slain, 2 more slip from the shadows. Ammunition runs low. Voices crack with panic. And the hive mind adapts, shifting, learning, sending new waves where defenses are weakest. You realize with dawning horror, this isn't the battle. This is only the beginning. The Tyranids have arrived, and the hunt has only just begun. The thunder of battle fades behind you. The roar of lasguns and artillery is distant now. You crouch in the ruins of a collapsed hablock, surrounded by smoke and dust, with only a handful of survivors at your side. The city, once alive with millions, feels empty. Too empty. Silence presses in. A silence broken only by the groan of twisted steel, the hiss of fires burning in the streets. And yet, beneath it all, you hear something else. Faint, scraping, the sound of claws on stone. Slow, patient, close. A shape flickers across the rubble. Your breath catches. You strain your eyes, praying it was just smoke. But then it moves again. Closer, faster. The shadows twist, and something steps into the half-light. It is tall, lithe, moving with terrifying grace. 4 arms end in hooked claws, glistening in the firelight. Its head is elongated, its eyes glimmering with a predator's focus. A Genestealer. It doesn't scream. It doesn't charge. It simply watches. Muscles coiled like a spring, it lowers itself to the ground. And in that instant, you realize the truth. This is not a mindless beast. This is a hunter, and you are its prey. A soldier beside you panics. He fires into the dark, his lasgun bolts flashing bright red across the ruins. The Genestealer vanishes, melting into shadow faster than the eye can follow. Silence again. For a moment, you think maybe it's gone. Then the screaming begins. The soldier's body is dragged into the dark, his cries cut short with a wet, tearing sound. The squad turns their weapons, firing wildly, but there's nothing there. Only blood. Only silence. You realize it's not gone. It's circling. The hive mind is cruel. It doesn't just kill, it plays with its prey. The gaunts attack in tides, overwhelming by numbers. But the Genestealers, they hunt with precision. They let you hear the screams. They let you feel the fear. They break your courage before they break your body. The pressure in your head grows heavier, as if the shadows themselves are leaning closer. It is the hive mind, pressing down. Not just controlling the hunters, but watching through them. Every thought, every movement, is already known. There is nowhere to hide. Panic wins. You run. You don't think. You don't look back. You stumble through shattered streets, lungs burning, legs weak. The city has become a maze of fire and ruin, and every corner feels like a trap. Behind you, the sound of claws grows louder. Faster. Closer. You hear chittering. A wet, clicking chorus echoing through the alleys. They're not chasing you alone. There are more now. Many more. You turn a corner, heart hammering, only to freeze. The path ahead is blocked, collapsed rubble, flames roaring high. You're trapped. You press your back against the wall, lasgun trembling in your hands. The survivors with you look at each other, pale, eyes wide with terror. And then, the shadows shift. They are here. First one pair of eyes glimmers in the smoke, then another, then dozens. They step forward, hissing, claws glinting red in the firelight. The Genestealers have found you. But worse still, the ground shakes. From the smoke, more forms emerge. Hundreds of gaunts pour into the streets, their shrieks rising into a deafening chorus. You raise your weapon, hands trembling. This isn't a hunt anymore. This is an execution. The street quakes as if alive. From the smoke, they come, gaunts. Dozens at first, then hundreds, their bodies writhing over rubble like a living wave. Their eyes glow faintly in the firelight, their screeches pierce the night. You level your weapon, heart racing. The order rings out, fire. Last bolts streak red into the tide. Bolt to fire roars, grenades crack open the night. For every alien that falls, more come charging. The swarm does not hesitate. It does not fear. It only hungers. The barricade shudders as gaunts slam into it, claws tearing through wood and steel. Defenders hold the line, firing point blank, bayonets stabbing into snarling maws. The air fills with smoke, heat, and the acrid stench of alien blood. But the swarm is too many. They climb over their dead, bodies piling, claws hooking into armor. A guardsman screams as he is dragged down, vanishing in a storm of claws. Another detonates a grenade at his own feet, taking a dozen with him. Still, the swarm does not stop. You reload with trembling hands. Your ears ring, your lungs burn, your arms ache. Around you, the survivors fall back, step by step, pressed deeper into the ruins. The gaunts press harder, their shrieks deafening, their claws reaching. The barricade collapses. The line breaks. And now the fight is no longer measured in meters. It is measured in breaths. Every second alive is a miracle. Every shot fired is defiance against a tide that cannot be stopped. Explosions rip through the horde, showering the street with ichor. For a heartbeat, hope flickers. But as the smoke clears, the truth reveals itself. There are always more. Always. The swarm pours through the flames, shrieking louder, faster, stronger. You feel the hive mind pressing in, cold and suffocating, whispering through every claw, every screech. You cannot win. You cannot run. You can only be consumed. You glance upward, and your blood runs cold. Beyond the flames, you see streets crawling with alien bodies. Rooftops, alleys, bridges, all alive with claws and teeth. It is not a skirmish. It is not a battle. It is a flood. A tide without end. And you are drowning. The survivors gather together, backs to broken walls, weapons raised in shaking hands. No one speaks. There is nothing left to say. They know the truth. This is where they die. And yet, they fight. Last guns blaze, bayonets slash, fists hammer against chitin. Defiance becomes the only weapon left. You fire, you scream, you fight. Not to live. Not to win. But to deny the swarm your surrender. Then, the ground shakes. Heavier now. Louder. Not the patter of claws, but the thunder of giants. Through the smoke, a silhouette looms. Huge. Armored in bone. Talons long as blades. A Tyranid warrior. Its roar shakes the ruins, echoing across the battlefield. And behind it, more shadows, larger still, hulking shapes with cannon flesh and crushing claws. The gaunts were only the beginning. Now, the true monsters step forward. The night sky erupts with shrieks. From the smoke above, shapes descend, winged creatures with claws stretched wide. The gargoyles have arrived. Their wings beat like drums of war, their cries echoing through the ruins. Until this moment, the ground was dangerous. But now, even the air has turned against you. Lasguns and heavy bolters turn upward. Bright flashes cut through the dark as defenders pour fire into the swarming skies. Some gargoyles fall, their bodies crashing against broken walls. For a heartbeat, hope stirs. But then, more descend. Dozens. Scores. The sky itself seems alive with wings, and every gap the defenders create is instantly filled. The gargoyles dive in waves. They strike fast, pulling soldiers from their cover, scattering squads that had tried to regroup. Every rooftop becomes a hunting ground. Every open street, a death trap. The swarm is no longer pressing forward. It is surrounding, encircling, closing every escape. Yet their attacks are not random. They are guided. The hive mind directs every wing beat, every dive. Heavy weapon teams are the first to fall, silenced before they can reload. Leaders vanish under sudden strikes, leaving squads confused and leaderless. The resistance does not crumble all at once. It is cut apart piece by piece, exactly where the swarm intends. And again, you feel it. That weight in your mind. The presence of the hive mind pressing closer. It is not simply watching the battle, it is shaping it. Learning from every moment, bending every movement of the swarm to its will. You realize you are not facing hundreds of creatures. You are facing one intelligence, vast and patient, moving its pieces across a living board. Some survivors flee into alleyways, hoping to hide from the winged hunters. But the gargoyles follow. Their shadows sweep across narrow streets, their cries echoing through broken halls. Step by step, the avenues of retreat vanish. The city itself becomes a cage, and within that cage, the swarm waits for the moment to strike its final blow. Slowly, the battle grows quieter. Fewer shots, fewer voices. The gargoyles circle above in endless patterns, like predators waiting for the last sign of movement. The defenders cling to what little ground remains, but deep inside, they know the truth. The city is no longer theirs. The night belongs to the swarm. The city lies quiet now. No more constant fire. No more endless shouting. Only the flutter of wings above and the distant, alien cries of the swarm. In the ruins of the manufactorum, a handful of survivors gather. Their armor is scorched, their ammunition nearly spent. They do not speak of survival anymore. They speak only of duty, and the hope that someone, somewhere, might hear their final transmission. Engineers rig the walls with their last charges. Medics hand out their final stim doses. Veterans check their weapons one last time, though they know the shots remaining will never be enough. This is not about holding the line. This is about defiance. About carving one last scar into the swarm before they fall. And then, you feel it. Stronger than ever. The pressure in your skull swells until every thought, every heartbeat, feels like it belongs to something else. The hive mind is here now. Watching. Measuring. It does not rush. It does not waste. It knows there is nowhere left to run. The survivors are trapped pieces on a board already won. The first wave comes silently. A ripple of movement through the streets, shadows rushing toward the light. Then, a thunderous crash as the last barricade shatters. The swarm floods in, gargoyles from above, hormagaunts from every angle, warriors towering at the rear. The defenders answer with fury. Bolters roar, flamers spit fire, explosions rip through the dark. For a moment, the ruins shine like a forge of war. A moment of defiance, bright and desperate. One squad holds the stairwell until none are left standing. Another detonates the charges beneath the manufactorum gates, bringing down half the building in a cloud of smoke and rubble. Each death buys seconds. Each fallen soldier buys the others one more breath, one more shot, one more chance to defy the swarm. They are not fighting for victory anymore. They are fighting to be remembered. In the command chamber, a single operator kneels before a damaged voxcaster. Static hisses across the channels, but his voice cuts through. This is Highfall, holding to the last. Emperor, preserve us. The words are carried into the void, perhaps lost, perhaps heard. And with that, the final charge detonates. The manufactorum collapses in fire and stone. The defenders vanish within the ruins they chose as their tomb. When the smoke clears, there is no cheering, no victory horn, only silence, broken by the slow beating of wings. The gargoyles land upon the rubble, their forms outlined against the rising flames. The hive mind withdraws its presence, satisfied. Another world consumed. Another city silenced. For the Tyranids, this was never a battle. It was simply a meal. And so the story ends, not with triumph, but with inevitability. For in the galaxy of Warhammer 40,000, there is no peace, no mercy, no respite. Only war, and the hunger of the swarm. If you stood in these ruins, what would you choose? Fight to the last, or try to escape the inevitable? Tell me in the comments below. And remember, this is only one tale among countless battles. The swarm will rise again. Will you be here when it does?